positivity is powerful. So if you're going to incorporate journaling, spend the first maybe couple minutes just writing down thoughts, but then wrap up with 3 gratitudes every day. And it could sound like this, and this is candidly and honestly what mine sound like. Man, I'm just grateful for my children. I'm grateful that despite my perceived failure, despite my perceived weakness of a desire for control, I'm blessed with these amazing kids. And it could be something really specific. I'm incredibly blessed by and appreciative of and grateful for my middle child's amazing dimple, right? You want to get specific, something like that, but just something that you appreciate. Well, hey everybody, welcome back to the Live Deep podcast, where we dive deep on all things physical and emotional fitness and help you break free from unhealthy habits to live your best life yet. Welcome to the show. If you are new, my name is Jesse Karajet, your host and guide on this journey. I'm a Marine veteran, former successful healthcare executive turned health coach, fitness trainer, and founder of Ultimate Fitness. In part 2 of our series, you're right now, you're stepping in the middle of a series. This is part 3 and part 2 of the series. And the series is called Let It Go, A Guide to Living Present in 2024. We unraveled the intricacies of control. What is it? Why do some people have struggles with control and the need for it? And then we kind of foreshadowed what's going to be covered in this episode, which is how do we break free from that desire to control? So first, as a recap, the definition, or one of the definitions of control: a means to manage uncertainties and reduce the anxiety associated with the unknown. Last week, we talked about the types of control, or the ways that we exert control. That's control over ourselves, control over others, and control over our external environment. We talked about ways to know if we do struggle with control, or how to know if others struggle with control. And then we foreshadowed what we're going to talk about today. So today, in part 3, we're really answering the question, how do we let go of or reduce the need to control those 3 areas? Again, ourselves, others, and our environment. And the mission here today is to illuminate and really dive deep on tactics that you can start today and continue throughout your life to make sure that control isn't becoming something that is robbing you of what the pursuit of, which is presence in life, so that we can enjoy life, feel joyful, feel safe, and just really appreciate this fleeting life. So that's the purpose today, is how do we break free so that we can just kind of move forward and embrace the present, or maybe embrace the unknown. Gosh, man, I can't with the Frozen references. The whole series is called Let It Go, and I inadvertently just said embrace the unknown. Into the unknown, as they say in Frozen 2. I cannot hit that note. I won't try. Into the unknown! I can't believe I just did that. Hopefully my producer will cut that out. Anyway, Jesus went off the rails path. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to dive into different ways to break free from control. So, I mean, the truth of the matter is, and this is the sick reality of it all, is the more we desire control, the less control we actually have, or at least the less control we perceive that we have. The amazing Stoic philosopher, and if you're not into Stoic work, I highly encourage you to step into that. But Epictetus said, quote, "The more we value things outside our control, the less control we have." Again, that's Epictetus. And embracing that wisdom is an invitation to focus on those areas that we actually can control. And most of those things are our response to external life, our attitudes towards life, and our openness to the reality of life, which is it's unpredictable, it can be chaotic. And that's the goal here. You can just search right now, open up a browser and say correlation between control and stress, correlation between control and joy. Every study you'll find will show that the more we try to micromanage life, the more reported sense of dissatisfaction that we will find in life. In fact, the American Psychological Association reports individuals who prioritize control versus flexibility, and it is a continuum, are significantly more likely to experience chronic stress. My words here, but stress equals, be dramatic, death. Look it up. Find connections between stress and things like sickness, longevity, mental health. Stress is a chronic killer. And I propose that in 2024, people are more stressed, more overworked, more fearful, more overstimulated, on and on and on. For some reason, the further we go as a culture and as a society, the more inventions, the more technological innovations, the more connectivity, the more stress there is. And that's sad. It's funny. If my wife, love her so much, her and I are polar opposites on this area. My wife beautifully, gracefully flows through life. Most things just kind of bounce right off of her. She just kind of goes about her way. It's beautiful. And it causes chaos sometimes. And I'm over here, managing things, to-do lists, calendars, in the apps. Like, here's some ways to be more productive. Let's get here on time. And like all of my struggles and efforts, and my wife and I always joke, like, I'm probably going to die 20 years before her. I'll have done some marathons and gotten some gold medals in jiu-jitsu, but she'll probably outlive me. And, humor aside, and that's the reality of it, is we should all be actively trying to reduce stress. And if you're trying to control life, guess what? You're more stressed. I mean, there's no way around it. So let's go deep here. Let's start to talk about ways and unpack ways to step away from and let go, frozen again, of the need to control. Before we do, always like to give a quick PSA. I'll try to keep you up with our Altum Fitness app is launching on St. Patty's Day. That's March 17th, 2024. Incredible multi-week programs for any goal, whether you're looking for fat loss, like raw strength, functional training, half marathon, 5K, flexibility, mobility. We've got a program for you, and those programs have been designed by expert trainers. Just an incredible app. Videos, tutorials, there's nutrition planning in there, meal guides, macro counters, resources for mindfulness, everything that you can need. One low monthly subscription also gets you access to both the app, that's Altum Fitness app, and our companion community, where all of our coaches are waiting to engage with you and answer questions. Exclusive content is released there, monthly meetups. Join the Altum Fitness community starting 3/17/24. If you want to get on our VIP list, we're going to give some awesome deals to get you in early. That's at altumfitness.com. Look for our newsletter, sign up, and we'll keep you posted. Again, that's 3/17/2024. Can't wait to have you in there. It's been a long time coming. But let's jump into the ways to break free from the need for control. First, just do a self-assessment. Ask yourself these questions. What is my mindset and why is it that way? Borrowing from part 2 of this series, you need to ask yourself, are there underlying issues or experiences that are contributing towards my desire for control? Things like past trauma, psychological disorders, things like obsessive compulsive disorder, anxiety disorder, just generalized anxiety. But what's happening underneath the surface that's driving a fear of the uncertainty, that's moving me towards feeling anxious and urgent every single day to try to control or accomplish something? That was certainly me. It still is me, and I'm working with you towards that. But do a self-assessment. Could you have what's called a cognitive distortion? And there's many. A cognitive distortion is an exaggerated pattern of thought that's not based on any facts or reality, that leads you to view things more negatively or fearfully than they actually are. Again, that's an exaggerated pattern of thought that leads you to view life more negatively than it really is. Because think about it. If you are constantly fearful of being late, failing, messing up, being perceived poorly, that is going to drive you to have all of that urgency and have all of that intensity around just the way that you do life. So ask yourself, do I have a cognitive distortion? A great tool, like a practical tool that you can do on this last kind of piece of step number 1, do a self-assessment, is write out, make a T form. What are the things that I can control versus the things that I can't control? And take that and hang it up somewhere that you look at every day. A reminder for you. What are the things that you can control? Well, you can control how you respond to life. You can control your reaction to things. You can control your own kind of inner voice and perception as you do life. You can control decisions that you make, but what you can't control are other people, other people's perceptions of you, whether you want to admit that or not. You can't control your health. I mean, you can control your fitness. Agency is a huge thing. I'm big proponents of personal agency and commitment, dedication, determination, all those things. But at the end of the day, your overall health, I mean, look, you can get sick, someone can get injured, things like that can happen. You can control your finances, but sometimes you can't, right? So, but just write out and focus on these are the things that I control, and then ruthlessly control those things, or should I say commit to control those things, have agency, but also let those other things go. But writing it down is powerful, and I encourage you to do that. So do a self-assessment is step one. The next one, mindfulness. Embrace mindfulness, buy into this. People are talking about it. It's all over the place for a good reason. Mindfulness is so key. It's such an important tool to step away from being obsessed with control. The pace of life is chaotic, especially if you're trying to control it. The last thing that you're actually doing is living present. What you need to do is train your brain. You need to train those neural pathways to be able to focus and be mindful and present in the moment of your surroundings, your awareness, your body, other people around you. And the only way to do that is to, quote, work out your mind. And that's through mindfulness habits. So start small. What is mindfulness? Some people say meditation, but mindfulness is just literally being aware of your mind and your surroundings. And how can you do that? Meditation is a tool towards that. But start small and just start to incorporate a mindfulness practice. We're going to have a ton of them in our fitness app. You can look up different ways to do this, but I have a couple suggestions for you. One of them is in the morning, spend 5 minutes in silence and solitude. Just sit in your thoughts. If you want to close your eyes, you can. If you leave them open, that's fine too. And just sit and let your thoughts come, acknowledge them, and go. Set a timer for 5 minutes. Set aside and just sit and let your thoughts race. That is a small step towards mindfulness. Another one is through breathing and breath work. One that I love doing, and I like to, where I can, multitask. So cold exposure, and we're going to get into that in later episodes, but cold exposure is all the rage for a reason. But what I like to do is take a cold shower in the morning. I don't do it every morning. I try to do it at least 3 or 4 times a week. And while being exposed to the cold water, and you want to put that water on the back of your neck, I'll do what's called box breathing. Box breathing is equal parts, equal counts. Inhale, hold, exhale, hold. That's a cycle. That's one. You want to do equal seconds for each of those phases. So you'll inhale for, most people recommend 4 seconds. That might feel long at first, but a 4-second inhale, hold for 4 seconds, exhale for 4 seconds, hold for 4 seconds. That should take 16 seconds, and then repeat. And you can repeat that for 2, 3, 4 times. Take a break, do it again. Believe it or not, guys, that's mindfulness because you're focused, laser focused on your breath and the counting, and in this case, the exposure of the cold on your neck. You're kind of killing 2 birds with 1 stone. You're getting your cold exposure, which has all sorts of benefits, intracellular, hormonal, all those things, but you're also focusing. So mindfulness, do something for 5 seconds in the beginning of the day to start your day. And then for starters, do it one other time. Best time to do it if you're like me and there's a transition period in your day. For me, it can normally be, wrapping up anything I'm doing for Ultimate Fitness, work related, and then transitioning to being a dad and a husband. Take a similar amount of time, 5 minutes, and just do a mindful practice. Look up different things you can do, but highly, highly encourage, embrace mindfulness, because what it does is it gets you accustomed to focusing on the present. And that's the whole purpose of this series. And it just might take you out of those moments where you're getting caught up in the urgency of controlling something, whether you're trying to be on time or whatnot. So again, first, do a self-assessment. 2, write down what you can control and what you can't. 3, start to incorporate some type of mindfulness practice. The next 2 I'm going to lump together to be one, and it's journaling and gratitudes. And again, if you think about it, this is an intentional focusing of your mind, and in this case, on something positive. So first off, journaling, highly helpful for a scattered mind. You're sitting down, carving out time, whether it's the morning when I like to do it or at night, and you're writing down. And there's all different ways that you could journal. I like to journal by just whatever's on my mind in that moment. And I'll admit, guys, it's a hard habit to adopt because it takes a lot of patience. There's no instant gratification around journaling, but just sitting down to like, what are my thoughts today? Like what's happening? Putting them down on paper. I know some people, informed, intellectual people that I follow, like to do like a structured journal every day. One of which the great Dr. Andrew Huberman talks about writing down, here's what I want to accomplish today, here's gratitudes, etc. He's got 5 things that he does every morning. But I think just letting loose thoughts out there and kind of writing them into existence can be helpful, and it can be like a pressure relief sometimes. But get in the habit of writing because it's a form of focusing. It's a form of single track mind focusing, which is what we need, especially for people that struggle with controlling. And then in journaling, and this is the other part of that, gratitudes. I love, and I talked about it in the first episode, but I love focusing on gratitudes. It's making sure that you're living from a place of abundance and not a lack of abundance. And what I mean is, if we're not intentional to speak to existence or write to existence the things that we're grateful for, we become fixated on the things that we're fearful of, or the things that we're wanting to change, and the things that we're upset about. But positivity is powerful. So if you're going to incorporate journaling, spend the first maybe couple minutes just writing down thoughts, but then wrap up with 3 gratitudes every day. And it could sound like this, and this is candidly and honestly what mine sound like. The first one could be, man, I'm just grateful for my children. I'm grateful that despite my perceived failure, despite my perceived weakness of a desire for control, I'm blessed with these amazing kids. And it could be something really specific. I'm incredibly blessed by and appreciative of and grateful for my middle child's amazing dimple, right? You want to get specific, something like that, but just something that you appreciate. A gratitude is often my health, despite sometimes my perceived mistakes and efforts. It could be the same thing every day or something new every day. You don't have to reinvent the wheel, but focus on something grateful. Because if you think about it, back to the origins of control, you're trying to mitigate fear, which is negative. On the other side of fear is harm. But if you are combating that intentionally and intellectually with focusing on something positive, over time, you can start to shift that mindset into something from, again, lack of abundance to abundance, something unhealthy to healthy. So journal, and in your journaling, include the practice of gratitude. This next one is huge. Limit technology. Limit this stupid thing. Limit your smartphone. Limit your apps. Limit the ways in which you could enable yourself to control. Set boundaries. This is how you do it. Start with an audit of your smartphone. Open it up, ask yourself each and every app, do I need this? And be honest, be surgical with that question. Do I need the ESPN app on my phone? When I'm in the bathroom, do I need to see the top 25 NCAA college football rankings? In other words, do I need to remove myself from being present? Yes, it's the bathroom. So I can just ingest or absorb that random piece of information? Do I need to have the latest and greatest fitness app community on my phone? One that I deleted a while ago. How about Google? Do you need the Google app on your phone? Do you really? Because you probably have Google Maps. You probably have a browser. But do I need the Google app? When someone brings up a famous movie from 1986 and I can't think of the director of the movie, do I need to go Google that? Because and I'm being kind of joking, but that takes you completely out of the moment and being present. The time it takes you to look that up is contributing towards a scatteredness that is in the same vein of this whole area of control, this micromanaging, multitasking kind of mindset. So if you're working towards mindfulness and you're working towards journaling and all these other things, have technology in its own box and find ways to mitigate it. Set boundaries each day of when you're going to be able to access certain apps. Do the audit on the phone, remove things that you don't need, and set boundaries for those apps that you still have. Technology, man, it can be great for organization. It can be great for connectivity and communication. But at the same time, man, it could be detrimental. An overconsumption of information and the urge to control every update and notification is so unhealthy for our minds. So strongly consider limiting your technology and your absorption of it, your consumption of it, should I say. And then last, this is really number 7 here. Consider therapy. Therapy is, we're talking about going back to step 1, a self-assessment, asking yourself, like, what could be underneath, what can be insidiously kind of driving my desire to mitigate fear or have control. A trained professional, a trained therapist is second to none to help you do that. They can help you understand the root causes for that need, particularly underlying fears or past traumas. They can give you tailored strategies to cope with those fears in a healthy way and constructively, and even offer a safe space just to explore. And if you've never done it, highly consider it. There's different ways. If you're a little intimidated by going in person, there's great options online. Ultimate Fitness doesn't have any connections with any particular provider, but encourage you to just look up online help. And then I am a big proponent of in-person. There's something about that connectivity that's really helpful, but strongly consider getting therapy to help you break through not just your need to control. There might be some other issues in there unaddressed that can help you. So again, things you can do, and we're going to, summarize all these in the show notes, and we'll have links to different resources to help, but do a self-assessment, ask others for their input as well. Write out what are the things you control versus what I can't. Start to implement small steps towards mindfulness and meditation. Journal, if not every day, just start journaling. In your journal, include a gratitude practice. Start to really limit your technology use. We're going to have a big feature in our Ultimate Fitness app on that. And then lastly, just consider therapy, maybe for the first time and for the first time in a while. Massively, massively helpful. So those are the steps to break free from control as we move forward. Man, I am so excited. Our next episode is going to focus on the other side of that Venn diagram, which is release. What are the unhealthy ways that we release and de-stress and disassociate when we're overwhelmed with life? We're going to talk about unhealthy things like alcohol, substances, social media. And then in the following episode, we're going to talk about more healthy ways to do that. Can't wait to dive deep on that. So please stick with us. Please also, if you haven't already, follow our show, leave a comment, like it, share it with somebody that you know. I've said in the past, I don't really get this whole algorithm thing. We're just trying to produce really good content that helps people. But we know that the more chatter, the more engagement, the more sharing and whatnot, we're just going to have a better chance at reaching people. So please, wherever you find us, follow, like, and share us. We greatly appreciate that. And before we part ways, I'd love to share just a really, really amazing quote from Maya Angelou, who said, quote, "You may not control all the events that happen to you, but you can decide not to be reduced by them." Just a powerful reminder. Encourage us all to find strength in surrendering into the unknown and living in the present. So please join us in the next episodes. We're moving towards wrapping up the series as we are all one step closer to living deep. Thanks, everybody.